Hello and welcome to Offstage. My name is Shamanay Bia and today we will be talking to Seb, who is the lead vocalist from Indie Dog. Hi Seb, welcome to the fifth episode of Offstage.
Hey, thanks very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, first question, I just want to know, how did you guys decide on the name Indie Dog?
Well, indie music obviously is independent music, and a lot of the South African scene is independent. Based on that, I named my dog Indie. So after that, we named our band Indie Dog. So very simple story.
So, how did you guys start out as a band?
I'd previously been playing shows solo. So I was playing, I think it was Hard Rock Cafe at the time, playing just myself with an acoustic guitar and stuff. And I met a guy there who was a drummer, and he knew some people and kind of met my band guys through him. And decided that probably be a good idea to get some guys together and start playing some music.
Did you guys get along immediately? Like, was it like immediately like, okay, this is the band?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, we've had a spattering of different drummers, but we're pretty happy with our current drummer, who's Mark Duplessis. Not to say we weren't happy with our previous drummers; they were all good guys. They just kind of had other things going on in life, so we've got a new drummer now. But to answer your question, yeah, as soon as we started playing together, I think it was actually the first time we ever played together. We wrote a song which is Ode to a Friend No Longer on Baptism of Fire album. And, just how that song sounds is a testament to, how well we get along musically and as people.
How does it feel for you to be in a band after performing solo for so long?
It's really cool, actually. You kind of, when you play solo for a long time, you get used to the fact that all the sound that exists comes from you. So it can get quite, I don't know if stressful is the right word, but it's not always easy. So it's nice to have a group of guys that are playing with you, and you don't have to necessarily kind of be active at all times, and you can count on other guys to, if you mess up, they'll pick up the slack or whatever. So it makes it a lot easier. Yeah,
Definitely. So obviously we are in lockdown at the moment. Do you guys still practice as loud or get to do so many shows? Well, not obviously like live shows, but still perform in some kind of way.
yeah. Well, with the hard lockdown, we haven't been able to practice together. We did get together recently on the basis that we'll be doing some streaming, which fortunately falls under the broadcast aspect of the law. So we could then legally start practicing because we had a broadcast show coming up. So yeah, it's only recently that we've started getting together again to kind of play. But we do have a couple stream shows coming up, which we'll announce shortly. But other than that, we spent the whole of lockdown basically writing and recording a song, which we released a couple of weeks ago called Moving On.
Yeah.
And that was kind of fun to do, seeing as we weren't together. We were all in separate places. So yeah.
So who did the mix and mastering for that track?
That was Kian, the lead guitarist. We all recorded our separate pieces at home in our respective home studios, and Kian worked his magic. It's usually him who does the bulk of the work in terms of the mastering, and then I kind of am there for a lot of it and help out because we both have a fair amount of experience in it. But this time, obviously, I couldn't be there, so he shouldered the whole responsibility and did the mix, the master, he edited the video, he did everything.
Unfortunately, you now have to speak on behalf of the entire band, but what music experience does most of you guys have? Did you guys go study music? or was it like a long time passionate thing, or how did you guys start out doing this?
Everyone in the band, actually, now that I think about it, except for me, has studied music theory. I'm the only one who's completely lacking in that area. But Mark, our new drummer, he's got I think it's an honors or something in music. So he studied at Bits. He finished last year. And then the other two guys, Yak and Kian, they did rock school when they were in high school. And they've actually been playing together for a long time. So like since they were kids, basically. So it's kind of cool to have them playing together because they're very in tune with each other. They've been playing together for, over 10 years or whatever. So, but we all like gel very well musically, even though I lack music theory. So
as a band, you guys obviously do a lot of shows together. You spend a lot of time together. Is it difficult for you guys to always get along as a band and as a group of friends?
No, not really. I think in any group you're going to have like an argument here or there, but it's never anything serious. And we're very good friends and we get along well. When we tour, it's never anything serious. If we do have a disagreement, most of the time, we're always cracking jokes or having fun and, playing a lot of shows, and we're definitely good friends on stage and off. So it makes it very easy for us to be a band because we have a lot of the same goals and a lot of the same kind of like viewpoints on things.
Of course, you guys keep like work and friendship apart.
With the band itself, yeah, music is a very emotional thing, so it's kind of hard to do that a lot of the time. We do our best to gel together.
What is your favorite show that you've guys done together?
Probably two different kinds of shows. We played Hard Rock in Santon last year sometime. Well, we played it a few times last year, but there was one specific show where the place was pretty packed and everyone was feeling it and they were dancing, and we had some people even come up on stage, and so that was quite a bit of fun to play that venue. It's also quite a prestigious venue, so it's nice to be able to play that. And then the other show that probably is my favorite show we've played so far was White Mountain Festival in the Berg, just because it was freezing cold, but despite that, we're like so many people there and enjoying the music, and the whole lineup was great. Zebra was playing the night after us. We had Ross Charles playing on the same night as us, and it was just a really, really good gig. People were dancing with us, and that's always nice to have that like bounce back from the crowd.
Do you guys all sit and you write together, or is there like one designated person that mainly writes and then the rest of you would just vibe together?
The viewpoint in our band is that you're responsible for your own instrument. So anyone can bring an idea to the table. So if someone has a song idea, we'll work it over, but we give each other the space to create on our own like area, so. And I think that's kind of what gives us our sound, because we all have not very different, but we all have different influences. Like I come from a very like 90s and 80s and 70s rock, grunge, punk era, and Kian and Dylan come from a very like funk background. And so we have like quite an interesting mix of stuff that comes through. And we let it come through by letting everyone write their own parts to whatever songs we bring up. I mean, obviously, like if one person doesn't like something about it, it's not that you can't say anything about it or anything. We'll talk things out like that. But the general consensus is that you're the drummer, you write the drums. You're the singer, you write the vocals. So that's kind of how we operate.
Has it always been this agreement that was from the get-go, that the agreement that you guys got?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when we started, I had a bunch of originals that were written, mainly for a solo act. So it was me singing and playing guitar, and that was it. So I just said to the guys, like, you're welcome to do anything you want with your part of the song. And that's kind of just how we started, and we haven't really changed that process. So some of the time, actually, when we were playing a lot of shows live last year, we would always put a section of our show aside to improv something and just jam stuff out. I'd ideas and whatever. And because we click so well musically, we could do that in a live setting without sounding very bad, you know. So we actually wrote a couple songs that way. Like we'd jam something live and the crowd would be digging it. So we'd remember what we did, or we had someone recording what we did, and then we'd look back at it and be like, okay, we should work on this because that's actually a cool track, you know. And one of our songs that we'll be releasing in the next couple of months is actually one of those.
So obviously you guys have done quite a lot in the music scene, but who would you say is one of your personal favorite artists that you guys have opened for?
That's a very good question. I don't know. We haven't really opened for very many people. We've done a lot of like joint shows with other bands. The only show that we technically opened for someone was a Fokov Polisikar show, but we were so early on the lineup, and it was, you know, it wasn't a fantastic show, to be honest. Bands that I would want to bring up are guys that we play with a lot of the time, friends of ours, and other bands that we just know are good, like Zen Garden, Threes and Sevens, Zebra, Blomoer, Club of Suns. There's a whole bunch of local guys that are really, really good and deserve like some really good recognition. Yeah.
Definitely, because I mean, we've seen you guys live multiple times performing with the Experience or Zen Garden or Zebra. Like, that's an amazing show. And I mean, for you guys to be backstage and partying with this guy must be like a whole different lifestyle.
It's okay. I mean, we're all normal people, I suppose, except for when we're on stage.
Yeah. So obviously, you know that Zebra does this thing where they like everybody runs off stage and they just come back and they start playing a different instrument. Do you think that's something that you guys would ever do?
Yeah, we've spoken about it. You know, we're all multi-instrumentalists. In fact, the drummer is a composer. Like he composes, you know, he can do orchestral compositions and stuff like that. So we've definitely spoken about it. You know, I can play keyboard, drums, Kian can play keys, Yak can play guitar. You know, his singing voice isn't bad either. So we'll probably try it one day. We just got to get it right so that we don't look silly. That's all.
So obviously Dylan, his nickname is Yak. Is there a reason
Yeah.
behind this?
Yeah. So I hope I get this right. So he was in school, and they, you know, like when you're in primary school, they've got these like different groups that you get assigned to, right? So he was assigned to I think the cows group or something like that. Anyway, his hair, because he's Portuguese, right? So he's got a bit of like a curl to his hair, and it was a major mess. And they told him he looked like a yak, and then it stuck basically from primary school. So yeah.
So do you guys, because I know there's a lot of bands that go through drummers quite easily, and I don't know if that's just a drummer thing or whatever it might be, but do you guys find it hard to adapt to new drummers?
Okay, so our very first drummer he played, I think, 2 shows with us, and then he left. So and then we got another guy in who's Rome. His name is Rome Subramuni. He was an Indian guy, brilliant drummer, and a really cool guy. We got along very well, and there's no bad blood between us. He was with us for just over a year, and he wrote the drums and recorded the drums for the entire Baptism album and the 3 new singles, You're Free, Lucky Day, and Fly High. And he's kind of been our longest standing drummer. So technically he's almost been our only drummer, honestly, because our first drummer was with us for such a short period of time that, you know, it's hard to really count him as having been a drummer for us. And Rome was really good. His life just he had certain goals that he wanted to achieve, and he got an opportunity. So he took it. And we spent, I think, 2 months looking for a drummer. We're obviously very particular about who we want to play with, because this is something serious for us. You know, this band is going far. So we want to be happy that the person we're taking on is someone that we can get along with personally and musically. So we spent quite a while, and eventually we found Mark, and we approached him to ask him if he wanted to play with us, and he was keen because we'd actually played a show together. He's in a band called Up Your Sleeve, and we'd play together, and I'd seen him, and I remembered about him, so we contacted him. He was keen, and he's a very tight drummer. He's very groovy, so that working out really well. And as far as his longevity will go, we're expecting that unless something unforeseen happens, he's going to be with us for the rest of our careers. That's kind of the agreement that we have with everybody in the band at the moment.
What is the hardest part of being in a band?
To me, it's something that's very important to me. So I put it, above a lot of other things in my life, which I suppose can be hard sometimes because you have to make sacrifices to keep the band going and continue to play. And, when you're touring, you're away from your friends and family. And even when you're in the studio, you're away from your friends and family for a long time, So that's probably what I would say is the hardest part about being in a band is managing your personal life as well as spending enough time on the band to make it viable.
Being in South Africa, it is quite difficult making a living off of being in a band or being an artist or even in the industry for that matter.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, this country scene is, although the people that are in it are very dedicated, the general populace are not as receptive to new upcoming South African acts as what they would be to a foreign act. And it's an interesting viewpoint because it's not just music. Local film is the same. There's so many local industries where it's not cool to like local things. For as weird as that sounds, like it's kind of the viewpoint that I've come across, at least, where if it's an American band, it's immediately like 100 times cooler than a South African band. Or if it's an American film, you're 100 times more likely to watch it than you are to watch a local film. So I think that's kind of the problem in this country with making it is you've got to get in there in such a way that people are receptive to the fact that you're a local artist.
Exactly. And especially getting out there and going to new shows, especially because there's not a lot of funds for this kind of thing. So it is difficult. What festivals have you guys done?
We've done Bring Back the Rock, White Mountain, did a bunch last year, and then we were booked for Misty this year and Bike Fest in Port Edward and Clarence, which have all been postponed, obviously. We were booked for Dam Rock last year, but that festival unfortunately had to postpone as well to this year. So it's kind of been a bit tough recently festival-wise because that, as you say, there's not a lot of funds for that kind of thing. So especially with coronavirus, it's kind of become not something that's happening at the moment.
So out of a personal perspective, do you prefer doing live shows? Say, for instance, you do something at Hard Rock Cafe, or do you prefer doing festivals?
There's cool things about both of them, like there's always an atmosphere at Hard Rock or like Sundowners or Railways, and it's a very personal show, and that is very appealing in a certain way. It's really cool to be that close to the crowd, and there's a lot more. You can literally just lean over and talk to someone in the crowd from the stage, which is really cool. It's very personal. So I really like that aspect of that. The festivals, though, it's a massive stage, very good sound, lots of people, that has its own appeal. As a musician, you enjoy making loud sounds, right? So to be able to be that loud is always very fun. You slam your guitar and you can like almost see the sound waves like echoing off the back of the property or whatever, wherever you are. So yeah, that's got its own appeal to it as well.
If you could pick like one festival out of everything that's happening, which festival would you want to play?
One festival. I think, I probably, before Opikopi postponed last year, I would have said Opikopi, but now I would probably say Up the Creek, just because it's a really interesting concept. I'd love to play that water stage and just have, everyone out on the lilos and the tubes and stuff, chilling in the river, and play them a cool set. I think that would be really fun.
As a band, have you guys ever thought about maybe doing like a collab with someone, like one single artist, not like another band?
Yeah, we have. It's kind of, yeah, we need to find the right person to do that with, I suppose. It's kind of we're open to it. It's not that we're not open to it. People can more than welcome to get in touch with us and propose that. In fact, we've introduced people up onto the stage with us in a live setting. So we've done that a few times, and we can definitely look at doing that kind of a thing in studio. At the same time, we have a lot of original material that is yet to be recorded. So we'll be heading into KVD Studios as soon as we can, because we have a partnership with them, and we're both kind of just waiting on the green light so that we can go in and finish up some of our tracks and stuff. And I think once we have the bulk of what we want to get out now finished, then we'll start looking at doing things like collabs and stuff.
So one question that I ask everybody is, who are you guys when you are not on stage?
Who are we? We're the same people, really. I think we try and be as genuine as possible on stage. So we're just a bunch of guys that love making music. We love music in general, and I think that's kind of the personification of who we are. We love music. We love making music. That's really who we are. It's always fun hanging out with the dudes and doing stuff with them. Unfortunately, not very much of that happening right now, but as soon as we can, we'll get back together again. Yeah,
definitely. So are all of you just committed to the band, or do you guys have day jobs? Are you baking banana bread? Like, what do you guys do during the day when you're not performing?
I don't do a whole lot of baking, but I do have other sources of income, and I think Kian's studying. He also does like music production as well, to order, so he'll make beats for people and produce songs and stuff, mix, master, that kind of thing. Yak's studying at the moment. I think Mark teaches drums. That's kind of his main source of income. And then obviously the band, we were actually making a good amount of money on the shows and stuff last year. And it was quite sustainable, actually. So as soon as the live scene recovers, we will be able to do that again. But yeah, for now we're all afloat and we're doing okay.
So from a personal perspective, do you think bands and live events will recover as they were?
I think it depends on when the government decides that they're just going to let this virus run its course. They've meant to prep the hospitals and stuff so that they can just let it run its course. So as soon as they have enough capacity to do that, then people can start going out again. I'm pretty sure live events are going to be super, super packed. I mean, everyone that I know in the music scene is like, I cannot wait until there are live events again. And and that's not just musos, that's people who are fans, guys who come to shows and go to a lot of shows.
Well.
Yeah, technicians, venues, like everyone, the public, the crowd, everyone's like itching for those live shows. And I think as soon as they're allowed to happen, it's going to be, I think, like almost a renaissance, like quite a bit bigger. I think even people who weren't usually going to live shows are going to start going to live shows because they miss that kind of thing so much.
As a band, what have you learned throughout this entire lockdown?
You've got to kind of push to keep things going and stuff. There's always going to be something that's blocking your way to success. And you've just got to keep figuring out how you can get over that. I know some bands that are not going to bounce back from this, sadly. There's some of our friends in Cape Town and up here in Joburg that are kind of calling it quits because it's not sustainable for them right now. So, and that's very sad. So I suppose what we've learned is just that you got to keep pushing. And if you do manage to push through the end of, all of these barriers and stuff, then the freedom at the end of it is going to be really, really sweet.
So this is the last question. If you can give any inspirational quote to anybody that wants to be in a band, as an upcoming artist, what would that be?
Two things. One is you have to treat it like a business. It seems from the outside to be a big party, and it's not. If you want to be in a band, it's not something that you're going to do for fun, and that's just kind of it. If that's your viewpoint, you're not going to make it. You have to treat it like a business. You've got to act professionally. You've got to speak to people professionally. You can't be arrogant. You got to treat it as if it's something very important. So that's the one. And the other one is, sounds cliche, but it's very important, is don't do drugs. I've seen it wreck bands too many times, where guys get smashed at every show, and they just burn out. So if you're serious about it and you want to make it as a band, you've got to treat it like a business, and you've got to stay off the hard stuff.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your time and for all the effort. Sure, and all of the best to your band. I'm so excited to see what you guys come up with and the new music that you release.
Thank you very much, and thanks very much for having me.